Waiting for the bits. Waiting for the bits. Says that our connection is excellent. That's the kind of quality we demand on this program, Lewis.
The connection is excellent. The content matter is yet to be spoken for.
We don't worry about the content. The connection's what's important.
That much is obvious.
I think that we're live. It says that we're live. So let us know, chat. Are we live? This is the one thing about doing it this new way. Are you looking at the actual?
Oh, well, it still says almost live, but I heard the audio.
And we're live. I got a bonjour. We got Vince Diaz doing the wave. We are alive. Thank you, Gurn. What a name. What a name. Gurn Blanston. Does that remind you of Gurn? Gurn Blanston. It's like a colorful name from the 50s or something, you know?
Sidekick in an action movie.
It's definitely a sidekick, Gurn Blanston. Mick Maverick, starring sidekick Gurn Blanston. That's going to be my name, Mick Maverick. That's a great name. Steve Martin name. Oh, is it? Man, I just saw a video of Conan O'Brien, Steve Martin, and Martin Short together doing an interview. I don't know if you've ever seen them together, but Martin Short, dude, he's still at the top of his game. His insults to Conan are some of the best insults I've ever heard anybody assign to anyone. He came on and he told Conan that he looked like a freeze-dried version of Prince. What's that guy's name? The redheaded guy, Prince Henry.
Harry.
Oh, my desk was going up without me. Yeah, Prince Harry.
Oh.
Heyo. My apologies. Oh man, yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, we're gonna start here in a second. So I finally plugged in my standing desk. Whoa. That I built myself yesterday, and I realized that the arm of my standing desk touches the controller because I put the controller in the wrong place. And so every once in a while, I will touch it, and my desk will just start. I'll just be sitting here, and all of a sudden, it just goes. It just starts going up. Because it presses perfectly on the automatic setting button, and the desk will just go up entirely. All right, look. No one.
Imagine a world where Irfan's desk rose by itself.
Okay. There's a joke in there somewhere. You want the tweet, Lewis? You didn't
imagine
even
a world where the tweet came unbidden.
That never happens. All right, Gurn. Safe travels. Okay. Well, I think we got a show here, fellas. Let's go ahead and cue this up, and let's get this thing rolling so we can actually get done before 8 p.m. Oh, Mrs. D. Lewis.
I know. Terrible. Been coughing for weeks now. It's great.
Without fail. I have been too, but at least I go. My mic out.
Yeah, I tried and I couldn't, and I was looking for the tweet. Everything's going wrong. All of a sudden, everything's going wrong. Come on.
All right. Oh, Mrs. D, we need you. Mrs. D. I saw your desk go up by itself. Oh, boy, here we go. I made El Kini do that last night. God, Lewis. All it takes is a look.
That's not good.
It's gross, Mrs. D. Gross. I don't want to hear any more about that. If you don't mind, we got a lot of Apple news to talk about, and not a lot of time to do it. So, if you would, Mrs. D, fire away, my dear. In 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're gonna hear all week long. I'm your host, Airfan Elijah. Joining me today, he's been wearing nothing but a Speedo and a gold chain since returning from his Italy trip last week. Thankfully, he agreed to put on a shirt for this program. We'll see if it stays on. He's the managing editor of Cult Mac, and he's hacking. Lewis Ross is here.
Hey, yeah, it's great.
Also with us, here's an Apple intro for you. Some call him the young Craig Federighi. Anyone? He's a writer at Cult Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Good evening.
See, that's what I mean, Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. It's like we're so deep in the weeds that we're making intro jokes about Craig Federighi and the executives. These are the things that most normies, they don't get, man. Like, does anyone even know who Tim Cook is? I wonder if you just went onto the street with a microphone and you had a picture of Tim Cook and you're like, who is this person? About half those people would say Ellen DeGeneres and the other half wouldn't even know.
Jeez.
I mean, some people would say Frankenstein's uncle, but no one would know who that was. They wouldn't know that he was the CEO of Apple. I mean, Steve Jobs was such an iconic leader. Everybody knew who he was. And even though I think TC is doing a good job, regular people just don't know who he is. But that's why there's those of us that come here to listen to those jokes, to hear people talk about new Macs that are coming in the year 2027. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, are you hearing like audio, like, I don't know, sounds like a compressor or something, or a noise gate,
I
like
do hear a noise gate, but I always hear that noise gate. I think it's coming off. Here, give me some audio.
me?
From me or from you? I heard a little bit of static when you were speaking our phone, but I don't hear it now.
Really? Yeah, I hear it when
Yeah.
Griffin talks a little bit. There's like some kind of noise gate that goes off. And actually, I hear it on you too, Lewis.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but I always hear that. I don't feel like that's abnormal. I feel like that's been around forever. So maybe you're just hearing it
Seems
for the
different
first
to
time?
me.
Yeah. All right. Well, look. As long as it's not too intrusive, no one in the chat is complaining about it. So I think we're good to proceed. And before we do, I do want to give a thank you to Notion AI for supporting this episode. Oh, man. I've been using Notion for months now, and it just saves me so much time. If you're not familiar with what it is, Notion is a note-taking app. It combines your notes, your docs, and your projects all together in one beautiful space. It's so much more than a note-taking app. It does a lot of stuff. And navigating that space is easier than ever thanks to Notion's new feature, Q&A. It's an AI assistant that can answer questions about next quarter's roadmap, find the marketing campaign proposal that you've been looking for, or dig up a long-lost link all in seconds. What I always talk about with Notion is how I use it as an individual, but it has a ton of really powerful team features built in. And if you have a wiki, Notion can search that wiki for an answer to a question that you have and deliver you answers along with where in the wiki that answer lies. And if you ever worked on a team that has a wiki, you know you're constantly like going to search it and you're like, yeah, I know that there was some information somewhere. I don't know if it was in an email or in a wiki or where it was. And with Notion, it just delivers that information right to you. Oh my goodness, look at this. I hate to even feature this. This is on their website. I mean, this is true. It's the slickest, most practical implementation of generative AI for text that I've used to date, but look who wrote that. Tiny Hands Heath. Tiny Hands Heath wrote it. But it is true. So what makes Notion AI magical, and one of the reasons why I love it, and one of the reasons why it's so time-consuming, is because it has basically taken the power of generative AI, text AI, and weaved it into the application. So you just hit the space bar, and you can type in, write me a blurb on, imagine topic, and it will immediately just write that thing for you. It can write bios. It can write bullet points of topics that you might want to talk about. It can give you a list of ideas for marketing material. It can do all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's a great starting place. And I'll give you a great example. Okay, so earlier today, I was like, okay, just give me a viral podcast title that I can use to promote this episode. And here's what it gave me. Introducing Maxed Out, Unleashing the Power of the M3 Max MacBook Pro. And I was like, dude, that's actually not bad. Like, I feel like people would click on that. It took it a step further, and it gave me just a short bio and said, join us as we dive deep into the revolutionary features and cutting-edge technology of the M3 Max MacBook Pro. Discover how this sleek powerhouse is, and it gave me redefining the world of computing. I actually changed it to discover how the sleek powerhouse is even better than its predecessors, because I felt like that read a little bit more naturally in my voice. And then it says, listen on CultCast, your go-to podcast for all things Apple. I was like, dude, see, that's what I mean. Even if it doesn't give you exactly what you want, it gets you very close. And it just saved me probably 20 minutes to get into the creative space to write something like this. And all I did was to change a few words, and it's pretty much perfect. And I feel like that is a clickable title. That's what I mean when I say that Notion can save you time, because it weaves in the power of generative AI into the actual application, and you can use it for all sorts of stuff, tracking projects. You can, create written content of all kinds. So it's really useful if you have to do writing in your job or in your personal life. Let's see here. You can try Notion AI for free when you go to notion.com/cultcast. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/cultcast to try the powerful, easy to use Notion AI today. And when you use our link, you're supporting our show, obviously. That's notion.com/cultcast. All right, let's dive right in. So hot off the press. We're not gonna go too deep into this, but I have been obsessed with benchmark videos of these new Macs, M3 Max and M3 Pro MacBook Pros, man. We told you last week there's pretty much only two MacBook Pros, M3 MacBook Pros you should get. One is the base M3, and one is the M3 Max. Don't even bother with the M3 Pro. It's essentially as powerful as the M2 Pro. And in some tests, it's not even as fast as that. So save your money. In my opinion, get the M2. Get the M2 Max or the M2 Pro. Don't go with the M2 Pro. Well, we've got some more benchmarking here, and hats off to Max Tech. I mean, dude, they're doing so much benchmarking. They must be spending massive amounts of time doing this benchmarking, testing absolutely everything that you would want to know about the different models. And this week, they released the video that I have been waiting for, right? Because my go-to play was, let's save money on the M3 Max 16-inch because they raised the price. And let's see if we can get away with going with the 14-inch with the same specs because it's cheaper. But historically, the problem has been that the 14-inch is not able to actually keep up performance-wise with the 16-inch, even if they're spec'd exactly the same, because it doesn't have the same level of cooling that the larger 16-inch has. So they start out this video, and I'll link to this in the show notes, with just showing you the bottom of the two machines so that you could see their fans. And as soon as they opened up the bottom, I was like, this is not going to go well. like the fans on the 14-inch are, I would say, half the size of the 16-inch version. And I was like, okay, maybe it will still be able to keep up. And then they did a thickness comparison, and they held the two up. Let me see if I can find this. And you can see that the 16-inch MacBook Pro is significantly thicker than, here we go, than the 14-inch. So if you're watching the live stream, the 16-inch is on the left, the 14-inch is on the right, and you can see the 16-inch is significantly thicker. And then that sealed it for me. I'm like, I wouldn't even have to watch any more of the video to tell you that the 14-inch is not going to be able to keep up, because if they built in the larger fans and the extra thickness into the 16-inch, they did that for cooling reasons. There's no other reason why they would do that. And then they didn't do that in the 14-inch. It's not going to be able to keep up. And sure enough, the 14-inch MacBook Pro with the same specs as the 16-inch is slower across all the tests. It thermal throttles like crazy. It can't deliver the same wattage to the SoC because it just can't keep itself cool. And in virtually all the tests, it lagged behind. Sometimes it lagged behind a lot. So there's your answer. I'm not going to go through all the benchmarks. I'll just leave you to watch this video if you want to go check it out. It's a great video. And the 14-inch can't keep up. And they also released another video, which I'll talk about here in a sec. But Griffin, were you about to say something?
I was just going to say, well, maybe my counterpoint before you revealed the answer would be that the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro have similar degrees of performance with the same chip. But I think the answer there is that the Mac Pro is overkill. The Mac Studio is designed to, handle the Max and Ultra chips without any thermal throttling. The Mac Pro is just unnecessary because it was designed around an Intel Xeon chip, and it's now, just sitting there with all of the space and free airflow in the world that it does not need.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just seems like an option to give people who don't want to spend the money on the Max chips at this point. But And then, so the other video they released, which I thought was interesting, was they compared the base level M3 MacBook Pros with different amounts of RAM. So the base M3 MacBook Pro with the M3 chip comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM. People on the internet have been bashing Apple, saying that that's ridiculous for a pro level machine. And Apple came out and said, well, it's like, we use it so efficiently that you don't even need 16. It's, it's like having 8 gigabytes of RAM on a MacBook Pro is like having 16 gigabytes on a Windows machine. So Max Tech did the tests, and sure enough, the 16 gigabyte model absolutely destroys the 8 gigabyte model. It's actually surprising how much worse the 8 gigabyte model did. It is not able to keep up in any of the tests. And in some of the tests, the 16 gigabyte model was like 400% faster in the Final Cut Pro export test. So it only confirms what I surmised last week, and that is I'm on the wrong screen, and that is the base level M3 MacBook Pro is effectively a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air Pro. It is a MacBook Air with a better screen, better speakers, but from a performance perspective, it really suffers because of the 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, you could upgrade for $200 and get 16 gigabytes of RAM, but at that point, you're at $17.99. Well, the M2 Pro base MacBook Pro, which comes with 18 gigabytes of RAM instead of 16, is only $200 more. And you get 11 CPU cores instead of 8 on the base MacBook Pro, and 14 GPU cores instead of 11 on the base MacBook Pro. So it's like for an extra $200, it's like Apple does such a good job luring you up that feature ladder, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't really want to spend that much money, but if I only spend an extra $200, I'm going to get all these extra features. Well, then if I only spend another extra $200, and then you're in my territory. You're like, I'm going to just, spend 40. I might as well just spend $4,400 and get the M3.
Just max it out.
Yeah. So
after watching these tests, do you feel as though you have reached a finale, a definitive decision on your upgrade path?
That's a great question. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but I do know what my decision is. So at this point, I'm either going to just stick with my M1 Max MacBook Pro for another year, or I'm going to go with the 16-inch and just, swallow it and get the machine. But here's the thing. I think I'm leaning
so the answer is no, you haven't made a decision.
No, but at least I've narrowed it down to what my decision is. So I have made that step. But here's what I would say. Here's what I've landed. So when we talk about how insanely powerful the M3 Max, the top spec chip is, and it is. I mean, it competes with the M1 Ultra and even beats the M1 Ultra in many tests. But in real life usage, right, if you get double the performance in Final Cut Pro exports, and I don't even know if that's true, but let's just say you're exporting a video. It goes from, it would take you normally 4 minutes, now it takes you like 7 minutes. Is that the kind of extra time savings that's worth the cost? For most normal people, even if the M3 Max MacBook Pro is double the speed of the M1 Max, you're talking about the savings of minutes in most tasks. And for most people, they could spare a few minutes. They don't really care. You're not sitting in front of your computer waiting for a video to export. You'll go do something different. The only people that I think it really makes sense for are companies that are paying developers, people who are doing really intense tasks, and they do them day in, day out, right? So that time savings really adds up. And then people who have the cash, they don't care. So if you're in one of those categories, it's probably worth upgrading. For everyone else, I think it actually might be worth to wait for the M4 generation, because the M1 Max is such an incredible chip, even though it lags behind in all the tests, obviously, except for maybe some of the SSD tests. I think in the SSD write test, it actually might be faster than the M3 Max for some weird reason. But it's still fast enough to do everything that you want to do. Like I opened up, I have iStat menus, which has a host of of different monitors across my computer. And I was looking at my memory pressure to see if I'm using a lot of memory, and maybe that would be a reason to upgrade. No, I'm not. I never even sweat my machine. My M1 Max doesn't even break a light perspiration. It is always, I'm way underutilizing the power I already have. So when you think about it, now I don't like thinking about it that way because I have an emotional need to have the best that Apple offers at all times. But I don't have a practical need, which I think is more the space that Griffin operates in. He's like, do I have a practical need for this thing? Whereas I, looking at it from an emotional perspective, I'm like, I just need to have the best that they have. But I really actually don't have a practical need to do this because I'm not even sweating the equipment I already have. It's so good that I could probably make another 3 years if I wanted to. So that's where I'm at, and I'll link to both of these tests in the show notes so you can check them out. Max Tech does. I mean, I don't know of anyone that does better benchmarking than them. It's a little high energy, Lewis. Not your favorite.
It's,
Hey, come check out the new M3 Max
Hey,
Macbook Pro. I
guys.
can't believe what just happened. Check this out. Look at those thermals.
nonstop temperature readouts.
You got to be high energy for YouTube, Lewis. That's how you get the kids to click. That's how you keep them there.
Hats off to them. I couldn't do it myself.
How's the M1 Max for gaming? From Steve from the chat. Can we get the moderator in here? Yeah, you know what? All these gaming tests, I'm like, dude, who cares? Who cares about gaming? It doesn't matter if Apple makes a machine that is great for gaming because no one takes Apple seriously as a gaming platform. And by no one, I mean game developers. So even if they made a machine that could game decently well, developers aren't going to make games that are compatible with the Mac because it's just not really worth their time. So I think it's interesting that they're pushing this whole gaming aspect of Mac, like they're trying to change the perception that Macs are great gaming machines because they're still not. And they may be able to play some optimized games pretty well, so maybe that's a concession. It's like, hey, you spend all this money on a machine, there are some AAA titles that you actually will be able to play on your MacBook Pro instead of having to build a gaming PC. But any serious gamer is going to be looking at a PC to game. They're not going to be gaming on their MacBook Pro. You can do it. It will work. It's like using an iPad as your main machine. You can do it, but there's going to be a lot of sacrifices, right? Like there's going to be a lot of things that you can't do because you're on an iPad. It's not what it's meant for. Yeah, Gib Bear saying over 300 Logic Pro tracks with the M3 Max. See, that's exactly my point. Yeah, you can do over 300 tracks in Logic on the MacBook Pro, the M3 Max. But dude, who is doing that? Nobody is doing that. I would imagine no one but the most hardcore producers are putting together that many tracks. I don't know why you would ever need that many tracks, but I'm not a producer.
I saw a post by Marco Arment on Mastodon that he said, yeah, I got an M3 Max MacBook Pro, and sure enough, like it saves you an enormous amount of time when you're doing a clean build of my app, Overcast. And he said, and I have to run these clean builds like sometimes a dozen times a day. But then in the follow-up post, he said, now that was never true when I was making my app with Objective-C and UIKit. That's only after SwiftUI. So Apple is creating in hardware solutions to problems to their software. So
there you go. I hate to admit it that the M1 Max is probably good enough for me, but I think that's true for probably most people. It's like you're just probably not even sweating. If you were sweating it, you would know. That's probably true. If you were maxing out your Max, you'd probably know that. And so maybe this would be the machine for you. Now, I will, again, emphasize, if you got the cash and you don't care, dude, buy it. I would. I mean, why not? If you got an extra... Now, the machine I want is $4,400 with that's actually without tax. That's with a 2 terabyte hard drive with the best Max chip. And shoot, if you got it, why not, right? But anyway, I promised I wouldn't go on about this too long, and here I am, and I've surpassed too long. Too long is in the rearview mirror. I don't even know what realm I'm in.
Coming back up on it.
I'm into eternity, and I'm still
looping
going.
Back around to.
I find these benchmarks so fascinating, and if I find anything else that I think that you all might be interested in, and we'll talk about this again. But anyway, let's move on. Griffin, you want to talk about what's new in iOS 17.2? There's some good features in here, I thought.
Yeah. This story has been building on for a few weeks, but the last few weeks have been busy, so we haven't really had a chance to talk about it on the show. a lot of new features are coming to iOS 17.2. It's actually going to be a pretty substantial update if you haven't been paying attention. I'm going to run through some of the top features here. iOS 17.2 adds Translate as an option for the iPhone 15 Pro's action button. If you choose this option and then long press the button, your iPhone 15 Pro will start listening for audio to translate right on the fly, right in the dynamic island. And there's a really awesome animation that plays. It's like this sort of like scattery, like particle effects that are like shiny blue and silver. There will be a link in the show notes if you want to. And I think there's a tweet embedded in the article on Cult of Mac if you want to bring that up, Airfon.
I'm looking for
Looks
it.
pretty cool.
I'm looking for the tweet.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Yep.
I'll move on though. Collaborative playlists in Apple Music. So iOS 17 launched with SharePlay in Apple Music. So, you can build like a live queue of music. This is slightly different. This is where you can invite somebody to build a playlist for you or with you, like a shared playlist that you can keep in advance if you're like, starting a party or something. You want to keep the playlist for later. The journaling app that was shown off at WWDC is going to be debuting in 17.2. That'll probably be landing in the next few weeks. The big one, though, that I wanted to talk about here, spatial video recording for Vision Pro. So inside the video camera, there's a little toggle button. It's not like a separate mode. It's kind of like turning live photos on or off. When you're recording a video, you have a Vision Pro button you can press. It'll record spatial videos. It's limited to 1080p resolution at 30 frames per second. And I suspect that's limited by the ultra-wide camera's resolution on the current models because, it needs two camera inputs for each side of the video. The ultra-wide camera is still, I think, only like 12 megapixels. So we heard rumors that the iPhone 16 will bump up the ultra-wide lens to 48 megapixels. And I bet then with the iPhone 16, you'll be able to record these spatial videos in 4K. But you can record spatial video and play it back totally normally on your iPhone or on your Mac. But when you play it back on a Vision Pro, it'll be in 3D. It's sort of it's not a totally like unique, bizarre camera format. It's basically just two video streams embedded in one file.
It's pretty interesting.
So you can actually play them back on a Meta Quest. I think I embedded another tweet I have another tweet in the show notes that you can bring up there.
So many
it's
tweets.
In the show notes if you want to see.
Oh, it's there. Is this the okay, I got it.
Oh, this is that dog video, isn't it?
No, this is a different one.
Okay.
It like when you play it back on a Vision Pro, Apple has like this nice effect where it's like sort of like blurry around the edge. It kind of looks like you're watching a dream from like the movie Inside Out or like Minority Report or something.
That's pretty
But it's
cool,
just a standard rectangular video. If you play it back on a Meta Quest, you can see it's just like a rectangular window.
Yeah.
And in the tweet, it's 2-dimensional, but if you're wearing the thing, it'll look 3-dimensional. So it takes up a little bit more space than a regular 1080p video, but it's actually still less like megabytes per minute than if you were recording a 4K video at the same frame rate. So I'd say that even if you don't plan on getting a Vision Pro right away, if you're vaguely interested in getting a headset at some indeterminate point in the future, I don't see any reason not to start taking spatial video now if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, because it's going to like future-proof your videos for the 3-dimensional future later down the line, in my opinion.
I like where your head's at, but I wonder, is the Vision Pro going to exist in 3 years? Am I going to have a way to watch these videos when they inevitably decide to cancel the Vision Pro project because no one wants to spend the money?
Because even if the Vision Pro specifically as it exists today, you don't necessarily agree with the product decisions, it's completely backwards compatible. Like you can play them back on a Mac. You'll be able to edit these spatial videos inside Final Cut as regular 2-dimensional videos. It'll be totally backwards compatible in that way. But I think it'll just, there's no reason not to. I think that
except for space, storage space.
Thank God they bumped up the iCloud storage.
Yeah, right. Just in time.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, that's the only consideration for me is you gotta now have. You said the videos were how much bigger, and are these 1080p or 4K? I missed that part.
I think people Apple invited some journalists to to talk about this when they invited them to like a special tiny media event to show them and talk about it.
Yeah.
I think I remember saying that the regular two-dimensional 1080p video is 130 megabytes per minute. I think spatial videos are only like 180 megabytes per
That's
minute,
interesting. So they're not double.
and 4K is like into the 200s or 300s.
Okay.
It's not quite double because there's still some HEVC like compression going on.
Yeah, and they may not be capturing two distinct video streams. Like maybe they're just capturing like the delta or something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, look, if you could take spatial video on your iPhone 15 and then watch them in a headset that isn't the Vision Pro so that you save yourself the cost, that would actually be pretty cool. That would be a cool feature of the Meta Quest if you could do that easily. And now, right now, I know that people in chat are saying you can do it, but it's kind of hacky in order to get it working. It's not like you just put the Meta Quest on and load the video. That's not the way this works. You have to hack the thing, or you have to kludge it together so that it works with these videos. I think eventually Apple will release a cheaper version of the Vision Pro. I know they're already working on it. And maybe that would be something that I'm interested in. And I'm not saying that the Vision Pro is going to fail. But what I have noticed is that no one seems to care about it. It is a very esoteric product with very little interest. And as the Apple Industrial Design Team designers said, it is a solution in search of a problem. And I think that is true. So I just don't know if it's going to succeed for that reason. I mean, it's $3,500 and no one needs it. And how many people that don't need something spend $3,500 on it? Maybe when it comes down in price. I mean, I would love to have one of these things. I mean, it's assuming that they get the battery pack figured out, so it's not like something that you got to wear on your hip, And the price was $899. If it were $899, I probably would impulse buy this thing. $34.99. That's a different story, but I just don't really see a strong use case for it. So that's the only reason why I keep talking about it so pessimistically. It's not because I'm necessarily pessimistic on it. I just don't see people being optimistic about it. Like normal people don't really seem to care about it or even know what it is. Anything else about iOS 17.2, Griffin? Did you cover it all?
Nothing really worth shouting out here. If you want to read more, there's a link in the show notes.
Oh, the one other thing I wanted to mention just real quick was the Journal app. So I've been using iOS 17.2, and I feel like I really like the Journal app, and I like using it. It's not going to be useful to me until it's available on iPad and it's available on Mac. I really hate journaling on my iPhone. I mean, dude, it's an input-heavy medium. Do you really want to be typing on your phone's software screen to journal? I don't. So it'd be really cool once they put this on iPad, and then mega useful once it's on your Mac, and you can just kind of like have it be cross-platform. And don't worry, that data will live in the cloud, Lewis. There's plenty of space in the cloud if you got the dough. You know what I'm saying?
You've actually been using the journaling app?
I've been tinkering with it. I wouldn't say I've been using it. I've just been playing around with it, yeah.
How are the suggestions that it serves up? Like, maybe you want to talk about this meal you had, and here's a picture.
I don't find them useful. It's like
really
journaling prompts. Yeah, the things that I want to journal are not things that it would think to suggest. At least not yet. I find that its suggestions they haven't resonated with me yet. But I don't want to make it seem like I've done some deep dive in the journaling app. I haven't. I've used it at a very superficial level, and not even for a lot of time because I hate doing it on my iPhone. And I pretty much decided that in the first 5 minutes. I was like, I love this idea. I hate that it's only on iPhone. I don't want to do this on my iPhone only. I would rather have this on the Mac, the place where I do most of my writing. But it is definitely a cool idea. All right. Well, let's take a moment and do a quick giveaway here, Lewis. The people demand their giveaways, Lewis. They didn't just come here to listen to us have fun and talk about Craig Federighi. They want something for free as well.
This week we've gone crazy. We actually have a link ready where people can go and enter. It's very exciting.
Let me bring that up, actually.
What a time to be alive.
I can't believe it. It only took a whole year to get this ready beforehand. And here I didn't even have the link ready. There we go.
Get there. Yeah. So it's fantastic. We're giving away five of them. iPad cases from Zugu, which is this very popular, very successful iPad case maker. Um, they fit a whole bunch of different iPads. Oh my god, my eyes were like glazing over when I was looking at all the different sizes and what year,
Lots
and
of
it's
variety.
oh my, it's difficult to like wrap your head around how many different iPads there are. These cases come in 9 colors. Marquee feature of these things is that they have an adjustable kickstand, so you can put the iPad at the angle you like. They're also super protective. One of the things that I find kind of amazing about this case, they they have a weird, unique guarantee that they offer. This is directly quoted from their website. With a Zugu case, cracked screens are a thing of the past. If your iPad or screen gets damaged while in a Zugu case, Zugu covers Apple Care Plus repair costs, so you can stress less and stream more.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of a case that offers they pay you if you somehow manage to break your
I
iPad in their
definitely
case?
have not, man. That's
That's
a
that's
brave
a good
move.
feature.
Yeah.
That's a good feature. Anyway, so we're giving these 5 of these away. Go to the homepage, cultamac.com, scroll down to the giveaway section, click the link, go in there, the giveaway post, go scroll down to the bottom of it and enter all you like.
Well,
You got a chance. I was surprised yesterday. I looked at how many entries there were. There weren't that many entries. Get in there. This is your chance to win something nice.
I always tell the people, you got a chance. A lot of people don't try because they think that they can't win, but you can win. That Zugu, that could be you. So, yeah, go to cultamac.com, just scroll down. You'll see the area for giveaways, and you can score yourself a super protective case here from Zugu. And actually, let me also just take a brief moment and tell the good people about one of my favorite food sources. I just love these things. You know, sometimes I think when I talk about sponsor stuff, people are like, does he really like it? Let me just tell you, man, I would live off these things. If they would send me enough Factor food, I would eat 2 of these things a day. They're delicious, and they're exactly the kind of food that I love. It's just a slab of protein. Now, they have a lot of different menu items, but my favorites, it's just a slab of protein, like chicken, pork, and then they just, there's like, it's like a freaking half inch to an inch of sauce just on top of it, you know, just slathered with sauce. And then a huge pile of veggies. My mouth is watering just talking about it.
You're making me hungry every time you bring this stuff up, man.
And they're delicious. And the thing that makes them unique is they are fresh and never frozen. So when you heat them up, which takes, just a few minutes, when you're eating them, they're still juicy, moist, tender. Just exactly how you want that chicken breast to be. It's and then the sauce is anyway. They're easy to make. I put a note in here, no nap needed. Sometimes you eat prepared food. It just is a gut bomb, and then you got to you feel like lethargic the whole day. This is the exact opposite. It actually gives you energy. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit delivery service. They can help you fuel up for breakfast, lunch, or dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. This November, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. Let's take a look. Can we see some of their... Oh, yeah. So they got Calorie Smart with 550 calories or less, low carb, keto-friendly, vegan and veggie meals, Protein Plus. That's the one that I go for. Protein Plus. You don't get buys like these not eating protein, Lewis. You got to just keep the protein. I'm like a protein factory. They got snacks and desserts. They sent me a bunch of smoothies before. Those were really good. They got shakes and smoothies. They got extra protein options. And they're just really great to have around your house. Like if you don't want to cook, you're going to the gym or something, you just got back from the gym, you don't really want to cook and clean up. These things are easy to prepare, and they are tasty. Head to factormeals.com/CultCast50 and use CultCast50, the code CultCast50, I should say, to get 50% off. That's CultCast50, the code to use, at factormeals.com/CultCast50. And you'll get a great discount on these meals, which, food's expensive these days. So it really makes these a very good value. And that is factormeals.com/CultCast50 and use the offer code CultCast50 at checkout. Okay. let's continue. Where are we? I have no idea. Oh,
Once
Lewis,
again,
back to you. Talk about a big shocker that we saw.
this is a shocker. This is breaking news today. Apple apparently is committed to adding RCS to text, for better texting with Android users. RCS stands for Rich Communication Services, if you're not familiar with that. This is supposedly, they're going to add it alongside iMessage, which is a kind of an interesting way of putting it. But it's going to let iPhones and Androids communicate more effectively. Like you won't have the weird lack of features, right, when you're texting with an Android person. And, supposedly this is going to happen very soon. This is from a statement that Apple gave to
don't even say it.
Mac.
I told you not to.
I'm sorry.
That's verboten on this show.
I gotta be transparent.
You are a transparent guy. Yeah, that's true.
You see right through me.
See right through you.
Let's see. Here's the statement from Apple. Quote, later next year, we will be adding support for RCS Universal Profile, the standard. Where's their ellipsis there? We believe RCS Universal Profile will offer a better interoperability experience when compared to SMS or MMS. This will work alongside iMessage, which will continue to be the best and most secure messaging experience for Apple users. So I think this is pretty big news. Company said that users can expect higher quality images as well as the ability to share location data between platforms. No word on whether the green bubbles are going away.
Definitely
So
not.
that remains unclear.
I wonder, I think this is probably part of Apple trying to appease the EU and their new regulations. And then also, I saw a story that said sideloading is coming to the App Store or coming to iPhones.
At least in Europe.
In Europe.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to do that here in the U.S., which sucks. That means they have the functionality, but they're going to turn it off for people that are here in the U.S., but they're going to build it in to appease the new regulations or the regulators in EU. And I was like, dang, I would love to have that feature. And I think this is another one of those features that they have to accommodate as part of the new EU regulations. So
they're already laying the groundwork for that in the software. Like Riley Testit, who makes AltStore, which is sort of this hacky way you can get like different third-party open source apps on your iPhone, circumventing the App Store. He's the main guy behind it. He was digging into like this new system that Apple's building into iOS that they say is for MDM, like multi-device management, like for deploying like apps through your business or through your school or something, or like some other organization. That's what they're saying it's for. But the system that they're developing has all of these extra like tags and APIs and endpoints that make it seem incredibly obvious, like it's actually just laying the groundwork for open App Store stuff, because for an MDM app you wouldn't need to tag all of your apps with stuff like whether it's 18 plus or like whether it's all this other stuff. I don't know. Brief aside. I'm citing off the top of my head something I saw 3 days ago. So
we love those asides. All right, hold on. I'm getting a report that my audio is lower than Griffin's.
Oh dear.
That's fine. Let's just boost it up. How about now? That's my bad. I need to make sure that I test this before every show because it appears to be bouncing around, which is not completely unusual.
So annoying.
But I'm going to guess that probably fixed it. Give me some levels there, Griffin.
Sure. I mean, I can also just talk a little bit quieter. That'll make up for it as well.
I just need you to speak 20% quieter, and we'll get you a like an audio meter so you can monitor it as we're doing the show. Well, let's try this and see if it works, and if this doesn't work, then we'll try to have you just speak more quietly. Yeah, I just boosted my...
Oh, thank you for the advice.
You're welcome.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that sounds much better. Yeah, okay, thanks for the heads up, everyone who's listening to the stream. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you will not have even noticed because this doesn't affect you. But
Fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. All right, well, I think we only have a couple stories left, and one of them...
Crazy.
One of them is yours, Griffin, and this is about some powerful new features coming to iOS 18. I was going to make a comment about Siri, but I shan't. Maybe I'll inject that commentary later in this story, but it's going to get even better. Just when you thought Siri couldn't get better, just wait.
Sure. Apple at WWDC 2024 will reveal a turbocharged version of Siri powered by large language models, LLMs, that will debut in iOS 18, but some new cutting-edge generative AI features could be exclusive to iPhone 16 models. Last month, Bloomberg reporter Mark Gurman, I don't know who that is, revealed that Apple is developing a large array of features that use generative AI, including, quote, smarter versions of Siri and new LLM-based AI features that will be baked into iOS 18 and iPadOS 18. Gurman said Apple was still debating whether to limit generative AI to on-device processing, deploy it via the cloud, or adopt a hybrid approach to combining the two. All models and the iPhone 16 series are also rumored to have an extra button that we don't know the purpose of yet. Internal versions of the iPhone 16 that Apple is working on include an extra capacitive button known as the capture button. We spoke about that a few months ago, and we were like, yeah, well, what the heck is this thing for? Well, I guess we'll see whether that rumor has any water as we get further into next year. But yeah, Apple might be next year debuting the revamped Siri based on LLM technology that we've been dreaming of for the last year and a half or so. I have a few thoughts on this.
As do I.
I mean,
you first.
the biggest question that I think of is like, how are they going to do it? Because like one way to do it that I've seen like a few people speculating of, and I think they're being a little pretty obscenely optimistic, would be to just like plug Siri into AI trained on the Swift programming language and the inner workings of like iOS APIs, so that it could like, you know, you give Siri a request, it interprets your answer, and then it generates and like executes code on the fly. I think the dream there being that like you could ask it, hey, how do I do this thing or something like that, and then like Siri would be able to use this LLM to like basically build a proto like temporary app for you
Huh.
that you can run on the fly or like, you know, within seconds, or like plug into other apps on your phone. Um, I don't know, like it's nice to imagine that, but in the current state of AI, that would be terrible. Like it might demo well, but trusting your entire digital life in the hands, it'd be like turning over your iPhone to a team of like lightning fast computer science juniors, you know, people who can write valid code, but like with no understanding of like data safety, security, integrity,
Oh, those things
or
aren't important.
efficiency whatsoever. That would, I would not do that. I think what'll probably happen is they'll build this on top of shortcuts and app intents, which is the framework that like powers shortcuts behind the scenes. I think that sort of hybrid approach where you need AI to understand the questions, to interpret your language, to be able to field new questions, which is what Siri just straight up can't do. Figure out what someone is asking, but then I think more important than that, run that on top of an old-fashioned like functional programming, solid APIs behind the scenes to make it run reliably and consistently. Like being able to ask, because people don't know how to use Siri shortcuts. That's kind of like a niche thing.
Yeah.
Like people get really into that. I mean, I'm even a programmer and I barely touch shortcuts, even though there's probably a lot of work that I do that is within its automatable capabilities, but I just don't really touch it.
It's too
Much,
baffling.
yeah, much less ordinary people. And it doesn't help that the front end of that app is one of the most unreliable and crashy pieces of software that Apple ships. But like the underlying framework to that would be really powerful for AI to be able to tap into, because it can hold so much more within its memory than people could feasibly or than people could feasibly learn.
Yeah. My first thought when I saw this was the other day I was having Siri craft a sentence for me, right? I was doing dictation and I was talking to my wife. I was trying to send my wife a message and I was saying something about my daughter. And I was like, I think she has or something. And it spelled has capital HASS. And I was like, dude, this is so bad. It is embarrassingly bad. I hope that AI gives them the ability to actually make Siri something that is useful, because we all know the joke. It's like so bad. And meanwhile, if you talk to your Echo, it can it can answer obscure, esoteric questions and give you answers to those things. And meanwhile, Siri doesn't even know which has to use inside of a sentence. I don't think there's any way they'll be able to get this to run on the neural engine, because all the generative AI engines that operate that I'm aware of all use huge GPU farms to calculate answers. I mean, the whole world of AI pretty much runs on NVIDIA. And the reason that you have to pay for generative AI in terms of hour usage, which is basically the way they bill you, it's like you pay them $12 a month and they'll give you like 200 hours of processing time, is because it's so expensive to run these farms. And you're going to do it on the neural engine, on the 16-core neural engine? I'm like, I don't see that happening. So they're going to have some kind of AI GPU farm, just like everybody else does. And Apple's already so far behind everyone else. I saw this story from Bloomberg, from the Gerbinator. And maybe that's why you didn't know who he was, Griffin, because I normally refer to him with endearing nicknames and not just Mark Gurman, Bloomberg. And he was saying that AI, so Tim Cook had mentioned in maybe a financial earnings call or something that they had been working on this for years. And Gurman goes, I can tell you in no uncertain terms, that is not true. Like this whole thing caught them by surprise. It caught everyone by surprise. And now they're scrambling to catch up. They have Craig Federighi and who's their AI guy? I forget his name. Shame on us. It's not somebody that we talk about very often.
There's a guy whose name I can't pronounce, and I can't remember if he is still there.
Okay, it's neither here nor there. It's throwing off my mojo. Their AI guy and also Eddie Q are spearheading this movement to make AI a thing inside Apple, and they have been authorized to spend up to $1 billion a year to make this work. So Apple is scrambling to catch up to OpenAI and all the other companies that are already doing generative AI stuff. So they're working on it, but they're behind. And it will be interesting to see what they come up with in the next year. Was someone about to say something, Louis?
I was just going to say, the guy's name is John Gianandrea.
John Andrea. Because there's also...
John Andrea.
Yes, thank you. John Andrea?
That's I can never remember how. I
Gianandrea. I think I've heard people say that before.
Yeah.
Gianandrea? Anyway,
yeah.
hard to remember, hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Senior Vice President of Machine Learning and AI Strategy, reporting to Tim Cook.
Dang, dude. Imagine the conversation with TC when everyone is building AI machine learning products and you're the AI guy and you're like, whoa, that's cool. Like, I never even thought about that. And you're supposed to be like leading the charge of this stuff.
Can you imagine Tim Cook like, hey, do you think maybe we get that AI worked out so that we can have Siri actually know where to put a comma in a sentence?
Yeah, and that squint he got when he said,
can you imagine? I would be squirming like crazy. I mean, I you know that Tim Cook, well, I don't know anything about his life, but I mean, he seems to like he actually uses Apple products, so he has to know how horrible Siri is, right? So how is... It just baffles me. It baffles me that it keeps getting worse and cannot do the most simple thing.
You know why they haven't fixed it? Because they can't, Louis. They can't fix it. They just don't know how.
They just keep making it worse.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Griffin.
You alluded to this at first, like what will run on device, what will run on the server, what do they need more power than they can offer on device for? I think Apple sort of throws themselves under the bus because they call all of these very different features under the blanket name of Siri. And I think that doesn't help them whatsoever, because when you give a request to Siri, there's a bunch of stuff happening. Like the speech to text thing is a completely different process that happens largely on device, but Siri interpreting and answering your question happens on like over the internet. And those are similar problems, like because both of them are kind of equally mediocre, but they have different solutions. I think that I think that the on-device stuff is going probably it might get better. I mean, you guys complain about it a lot, but I feel like speech to text works pretty well on my voice, and you can hear me right now. I'm not that great of a speaker. I guess I just
And
speak
maybe
more
you
clearly into
enunciate
my
better than
devices
me,
than you.
man. I mean, I know I have
But
a little bit of a California accent, a little surfer accent going for me. So maybe like
mhm.
people always say that when I say the word churn, it sounds like churning butter. Isn't that normal? I don't know. So, but
Yeah,
but
but Apple engineers are also from California, so you would think that wouldn't be
they're
a
like,
problem.
yo,
But
dude, we need to totally remodel Siri. But
I
here, hold on, wait. Well,
but
just
like, the other
let me,
thing,
let me just
okay,
interject this one thing. It shouldn't matter how you sound. My young kids can talk to the Echo, and it understands what they're saying, and it gives them the results they're asking for, and they're speaking like broken child English. You know, it's like Siri or Echo. I want to hear that song with the. And it's like I can barely understand sometimes what they're saying, and Echo somehow gets it. So it's not accent. It's not the manner of speaking or enunciation or even pronunciation. It's just bad. And everyone else has figured this out. Google figured it out. Amazon figured it out. And Apple, for some reason, just can't get the formula right. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that Apple wants all of that speech to text stuff to happen on device. Like they just did that on the Apple Watch Series 9 of all things. And I think that tells you where they want to go with this. But I think that I mean Siri running if Apple's going to do an LLM based Siri, that's going to happen on their own servers anyways. There's no way that's happening on your iPhone.
Yeah.
And they do also say that like a lot of the more they don't really get into like what exactly the distinction will be between like Siri and like the generative AI stuff in this article. We'll probably know more by WWDC and then later again by next September when they actually introduce the stuff. Or maybe we'll hear more rumors in the meantime. But it sounds like there's going to be a distinction between what will how Siri will get better based on like the data centers that run Siri and also like what the generative AI features exclusive to the iPhone 16 will be.
I'm excited to see them do something because they're behind, and I'm glad that they have gotten oriented towards the future now, and they're like, okay, we got to do something. It's going to be cool. And I hate to be. Sometimes I feel like I come off too cynical. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. I'm glad to see that they're doing something along these lines. I am excited to see what they do because generative AI is one of the most exciting areas of technology that I have seen in my lifetime. There's a lot of people that don't follow it very closely. It's moving very fast, and it is kind of weird because you have to know how to use it, and sometimes you have to like go into Discord and type in prompts and do stuff in Discord, which is why Notion AI is so great. But it is going to be ubiquitous. The amount of power, the amount of things it's able to automate for you, the fact that you can create like images. This is the one example I always use, and then we'll move on. But the one area where I see it, and it's really mind-blowing, and this is just one area, is in image production and in video production. There's a TikTok channel, I don't remember the name of it, but this person takes 16:9 aspect ratio movies and using AI, generative AI, he converts them to 9:16, so they're vertical. And they look perfect, man. I mean, he does like Star Wars, all the most popular movies, and he just converts them, and there's no information beyond 16:9. It's like generative AI chops off the sides of the video and then adds what it thinks should be on the top and the bottom of the video. And dude, it is perfect. It looks incredible. And we're only 2 years into this whole thing. In 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it is going to do things that people haven't dreamed it will be able to do. It's going to be everywhere. It's actually kind of scary because it's going to be used for both good and evil. And you already hear a lot of stories, horror stories of people who get called by their relatives and they're having an emergency situation. They need them to send them money. And then they realize later that that person is actually not real. It's a scammer using AI voice changers to pretend to be one of their relatives and scams them out of money, which is why they recommend that you have a safe word with the people in your life so that they can verify that who you think it actually is. So there's all sorts of stuff like that going on too. It's incredibly powerful, and it's going to be used for good and for chaos, which I think is going to be something that we probably end up having lots of discussions about, not here on this show, but just as a culture going into the next election, because you're going to be able to create stuff of people saying things that are just totally fabricated, but they, especially the way that things work now, I mean, they're going to be believable enough that people, when they see them at a cursory glance, will think that they're real, and then they react to them. And then you get the digital, pitchfork mobs on Twitter and stuff, because people are reacting to something that they actually got tricked into. But that's for a different episode. Maybe an all new CultCast second hour, CultCast off topic or something. I got to go to this last story because, dude, we don't have much time left, and I didn't even promote this. I should have said something. We got a lot of iPad updates to talk about here, and I know some of you are actually interested in iPads, and you might be thinking about buying an iPad, so I thought this is a really good update, and we've got some useful information here. So let's wrap up with this story. 12.9-inch iPad Air. A 12.9-inch iPad Air, so this is not a Pro, could launch in early 2024. Now, that's a machine I would definitely be interested in. Apple could overhaul its entire tablet lineup in 2024, delivering the first 12.9-inch iPad Air and upgrading iPad Pro models to OLED displays, and the company's new M3 chip. Imagine an M3 in an iPad. Just when you thought it couldn't, that the usefulness to power ratio couldn't be any broader. It's like putting a Lamborghini engine in a Ford Taurus. Highly regarded TF International Securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo says Apple will announce a 12.9-inch iPad Air in Q1 of 2024. So this is right around the corner. While the tablet won't pack a mini LED display, the screen could feature an oxide backplane for better performance and efficiency. An upgraded 10.9-inch iPad Air and a new 12.9-inch model reportedly will enter mass production in Q1 2024. And these tablets could debut in March or April, when Apple typically announces new products. Apple is also working on new OLED iPad Pros featuring an M3 chip and refreshed design to replace its existing lineup. Let's see here. These tablets will apparently use the same screens as the iPhone 15 Pro series to deliver better display performance and low power consumption than the current 12.9-inch iPad Pro's mini LED model. The company initially targeted a early Q1 2024 mass production schedule for the new iPad Pros, but that reportedly wasn't possible because of production problems. And I'm like, dude, production problems? How hard is it to create a 12.9-inch screen? LG's creating 55-inch screens, 65-inch screens, 85-inch screens, 77-inch screens. How hard is it to do a 13-inch? Anyway, let's see here. Anything else in here? In the second half of 2024, Kuo thinks Apple will update its budget-focused iPad line as well, featuring a new iPad mini and the 11th gen iPad, which these things are going to be on sale like crazy this holiday season. I just bought, don't tell my wife, she doesn't know yet.
Oh,
she around here? I just bought my wife an M2 MacBook Air for $799. So I was like, dang, that's a good price. I'm starting to see some good prices pop up. Y'all know I like a good price. And my guess is HomePods will drop to $225. That's my prediction. We'll see how that goes. But 'tis the season to pick up on some Apple products, because they're all going to be discounted, next week, because it's gobble gobble season, Lewis. And TC likes to get his gobble on, and all the Apple discounts start coming out. I mean, you won't see any of them from Apple. They're all going to be from their third-party partners, which, by the way, man, I got to wrap up with this. This is truly mind-blowing. Most people don't care, but I noticed something on Apple's website, and I'm like, this is truly completely bizarre. I've never seen anything like this. So let me load this up, and then I will blow your mind with this one bit of information, and then
While you're bringing that up,
start the music.
I just want to add some quick commentary on this.
Please do.
I think this is more evidence that I've talked about before, that Apple is going to shift the iPad Pros up market, and I think the iPad Air is kind of going to take its place. And the fact that they're making a 12.9-inch iPad Air, and we have all these rumors that the iPad Pros are going to double in price, I think this is only more evidence of that. So I think if you currently have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro that's you feel is getting a little long in the tooth, I feel like you should prepare yourself to replace it with an iPad Air instead.
Yeah, which I'm not opposed to. My iPad Pro is super powerful, and it is way more power than I need. In a 12.9-inch iPad Air, especially if it were less expensive, is probably all that I would actually need. I don't need a lot of horsepower. All I'm doing is watching YouTube videos on it and using the Apple Pencil occasionally. So, and to have the extra screen real estate, I don't need to have OLED. That would be nice, but I don't need to have it because the Pro iPad models include a lot of power that I think most people couldn't even utilize. Okay, so it looks like this has been updated. I've been tweeting about this or Xing about this. Apple has been selling the M1 Ultra Mac Studio for almost the refurbished M1 Ultra Mac Studio for almost full price. Everyone else is selling the M2 for discounted prices. And Apple, meanwhile, has been selling the M1 Ultra Mac Studio for a $50 discount. Now, they're currently showing it at a huge discount, but it's also out of stock. Let's see if I change this configuration. Is that one in stock? Okay, so this one is in stock. So you can get, so they finally discounted this. This problem is solved live here on the air. But my mind was blown. I was completely baffled by this because I've been looking at this for the last week, and I was just like, why would Apple be selling a refurbished M1 Ultra? No less the brand new M1 Ultra, the refurbished model, for almost the same price it was when the M1 Ultra Mac Studio came out with almost no discount. I was like, this is completely bizarre. But lo and behold, you can now get an M1 Ultra Mac Studio. Can I get this? Oh, you can. Dang. So that's a pretty interesting deal. If you wanted to, you can get an M1 Ultra Mac Studio with 64 gigs of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage for $2,879. That is a heck of a deal. I mean, that is the M1 Ultra is the second fastest computer that Apple makes. The M2 Ultra is better, obviously, but the M3 Max will beat the M1 Ultra in some tests, but the M1 Ultra is still faster than the M3 Max in a lot of tests. So if you just need something, oh, that's out of stock too. Never mind. So you can't even buy that one. Can you buy any of these? Okay, you can buy the 2 terabyte model. Sorry, I think that's the one I was looking at. So it looks like these price drops are legit. As of yesterday, these prices were almost normal retail, non-refurbished prices for all the M1 Ultras. And if you know an Apple employee, if you have an Apple employee in your life, they can get you an extra 15% off refurbished prices, which is a heck of a deal. So a 2 terabyte, yeah. That is a good deal.
Sounds like they're going fast. So if you're interested in a discounted Mac Studio, go for it.
Yeah,
now.
they generally don't have this many models available, actually. So if you do want one, yeah, I would act fast on it. They have a bunch of configurations here. This is still a terrific computer. If you're going to be video editing, especially, I don't think that the M3 Max would be that much better than the M1 Ultra Max Studio. Now, you don't get the screen and all the other stuff. But if you already got the setup, you don't actually need that. Like I have the Apple Studio display. Like this would be perfect for me. So there you go. That's your tip of the day. And with that, the music is going because that's it. I think we're officially out of steam. Let's take a look at poor Lewis. What does he look like?
Exhausted.
He looks tired. He's still got a smile on his face. He's a trooper. But I think he's ready to maybe get his 4th or 5th cup of coffee of the day. So let's go ahead and wrap up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The fun never ends on the CultCast. Wesley Davenport just showed up. Sorry, sucker. But you know what? You can come hang out with us on the new X. I'm at Erfon, ERFON. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. You could also just Google D. Griffin Jones and just click I'm feeling lucky. See what pops up. You never know. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening for Hangout Live, and we will see you guys next time. I feel like I was on the verge of losing my ability to speak. It's probably good. Q&A from the chat with a very appropriate gobble gobble y'all. I'll be gobbling hard next week. I can't wait.
1 week away. Hard to believe.
No one likes to gobble more than me. Maybe TC. but pretty big fan of the gobble. All right, everyone. Now I just have to figure out how to stop the stream. Since I'm doing this in OBS. I'm hurtling towards the end stream button as we speak. Let's see how this works. I hope so. If not, we'll just go live again and do another 3 hours. Here it comes. Pull it.